it's true that like when I speak to companies about EEAT, a lot of it does involve taking those experts that maybe have like a really small footprint online. But yeah, maybe they have some recording of them speaking at a conference somewhere, doing a podcast. And it's like doing a bit more marketing around what they actually have done.
Dit is de Jerrel Arkes podcast. Een podcast over organisch groeien voor B2B bedrijven. Hier is jullie host, Jerrel Arkes.
Lily, welcome to my podcast and to Amsterdam.
Thank you so much.
But it's not the first time in this building for you.
No, been here a few times.
Yes, also as a DJ, you told me. That's nice.
Attended my favorite DJ playing here several years ago.
Nice.
Same building.
Can you give a short introduction of who you are?
Sure. So my current title is VP of SEO Strategy and Research at an agency called Amsive, where I've worked at for over 7 years now.
Yep.
I've been doing SEO about 15 years. I think 12 or 13 of which have been in an agency environment. I've worked at 2 different agencies. And I've worked across probably hundreds of clients now. Grew up doing a lot of SEO in the e-commerce space. But now I'm more focused on like news and publisher clients.
Yeah, and I think most people know you from a few things. EEAT is, I think, one important one. Also the core updates and other updates from Google, right?
Yeah.
So you do a lot of analysis of data and to see why are some websites dropping after an update and why are some going up?
Yeah. There was a few situations several years back, let's say like between 2015 and 2018, where a lot of our clients were being impacted by algorithm updates. So I really wanted to get an understanding of what these algorithm updates were all about. They were impacting specific situations with our clients. And so that kind of sent me down the rabbit hole of really focusing on those topics going forward.
Yeah. And there's happening a lot in Google, of course, these days. So you already know the AI overviews for a very long time in the United States. In the Netherlands, I think we will see them soon. Maybe when this podcast is published, we will have them. Mm-hmm. What should we expect? Because people in the Netherlands don't know what to expect. Will we lose a lot of traffic? Of course, it will depend, but on what?
Yeah. Well, first of all, it's really hard to deeply and fully understand the impact because there's no way to track it perfectly.
Nope.
So there are some tools like SEMrush and Ahrefs and ZipTie and other tools that are giving us visibility into rankings within AI overviews. ZipTie in particular is a really wonderful one that our team uses because you can put keywords in there and specifically see who's being cited and what the AI overview response says for the different queries that you're tracking. So those tools are essential. You need to start thinking beyond just organic rankings and think about AI overview tracking and rankings.
Yep.
But even within Search Console, because we don't have visibility into how people click on this or what it looks like, a lot of the AI overview citations are number 1 according to Search Console.
Yeah, and I can imagine that from the date that they were added to the Google search results, that you can maybe see for some websites a big drop, for others maybe nothing.
Yeah.
So does it depend on the industry or type of website a lot, or?
It depends on everything. I mean, you can also see situations where you see a lot more traffic.
Yeah.
Sometimes AI overviews will cite the same website like 5 times within the result. And then below that, you also get an organic result from that company. You might even get that company mentioned in the AI overview, which is what makes it really tricky. So if you say like, what's the best dog food company? And it lists some dog food company, the name of it, as a recommendation within the AI overview. And then again, they get 3 citations and an organic link. You can expect an uptick in traffic from that. So it just depends. But I think generally speaking, you're going to see less traffic on average.
And of course, there was a lot of discussion also about the quality of the results.
Yeah.
Is it better now, or is it still not pretty good as an answer?
No, I think it's absolutely much better than when it came out. I know I shared a lot of examples of it not having great results, which is to be expected because it's, I've been using it since it was first in beta and it's been getting better every day. So I think on average, it's much, much better now. Yeah. The problem that I think myself and many other people have with large language models in general is that there's always going to be some level of hallucinations or not understanding things like irony, right? Or humor. So sometimes it presents answers that's like a human being would have never written it that way or interpreted it that way. So, I mean, it's true that there's always been inaccuracies in Google's results, but I think with AI overviews, it tends to have more inaccuracies than what we saw before.
Yeah, and last week, Google announced the AI mode. I think a next step into more AI-generated answers based on results pages.
Yeah.
We talked about it before the podcast. I don't think you have access yet, but
Not yet.
what do you think? Is that a big issue for a lot of websites? Will it be a next step of losing more and more traffic?
Yeah, I mean, if you were to ask Google this question right now, I think they would respond by saying it's still in beta, right?
Yeah.
So like, we don't exactly know if it's going to be rolled out publicly. I assume it will. We don't know to what extent it's going to change the look and feel of Google's product. You know, the way that they're presenting it now, it looks like it's a new layer on top of Google search. So like, theoretically, Google searchers might start in AI mode next year, right?
Yep.
So I think it all depends on how they integrate it with the core search product. But no, it's very similar to AI overviews from what I've seen so far. And I know that Google's trying to add a lot of opportunities for sites to appear as part of that result. It's just a question of if users are getting what they need from the answer, are they really going to click on anything?
Yeah. Do you also think we need a new approach? Because all search engines are becoming AI search engines, and you see that Google is moving more and more to ChatGPT and Perplexity, but I think it will also be the other way around, that they will also be better at doing, for example, branded search queries and things like that. But yeah, then do we need a new approach, or is it okay to create valuable content and still do what we are doing? Make sure that it can be crawled and indexed and rendered.
I mean, I think a lot of the SEO fundamentals are going to be the same. But I do think it's important to pay attention to how large language models and AI mode and AI overviews are talking about your core questions that you're asking. You know, I think there's a lot of new tools on the market that are doing like large language model tracking to understand what the answers are, who's appearing in there, which brands are being recommended. Yep. So it's kind of like a new form of SEO where it's not just about traffic, it's really about brand visibility. And being mentioned in AI overviews or ChatGPT is really valuable now.
Yeah. And personally, I use Perplexity and ChatGPT a lot to search. Mm-hmm. And what I'm missing is some kind of EEAT concept in these search engines. I get the feeling that they don't look at that at all sometimes.
Yeah, I agree. I think that there's a much more raw list of sites that get to appear in both ChatGPT and AI overviews, which is kind of a good and bad thing. Good in the sense that there's probably more diversity of websites that are getting traffic from large language models and AI overviews. And I know Google has said on the record many times, AI overviews is helping more websites get more traffic than before, which is kind of it's interesting phrasing, right? But I think what they're kind of implying is that there's a broader diversity of websites, not just the websites that get to rank position 1 through 10. Yeah. You sometimes get websites that aren't ranking anywhere in the top 100 appearing in the AI overview. The downside is, you know, all this work that Google has done for years to build up EEAT as a really important factor for who gets to rank. Sometimes it's like, why is this website with no authority or this very spammy website appearing for a health query? That's not how it's supposed to work. In
Google, you mean? Or do you mean
in AI overviews, you'll often see websites that nobody's ever heard of, or like a weird forum post that's being cited in the AI answer, and it's problematic.
Yeah, I hope they can fix that soon, but of course it's a completely other technique, so not sure how easy that is.
Yeah.
When you look at EEAT for traditional SEO, for most people I know, it's, to be honest, a checklist. A lot of tactics, things you can do to, I know we don't have an EEAT score, but to influence this invisible score that people think there is. Is that a problem?
I mean, I've never endorsed or encouraged this idea of like quantifying EEAT. I don't think it can be quantified. I understand people want checklists because they want somewhere to start and they need kind of a process or a template for how to approach it. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't think it's a bad thing to follow a checklist because generally the checklists give you a good starter point, but it's important to think beyond the checklist. And I've talked about this a lot in my talks. Like, you can't just follow the same thing everybody else did. That's not how SEO works anymore. You have to really truly think about like, how can I convey to my audience in this particular niche, in this particular category with a particular audience that's looking at my service that I can be trusted? And what does that look like for this person? And it should be different from person to person.
Yeah, but also a lot of, I work for B2B companies, and in a lot of cases they have some very good experts that know a lot about their expertise. But they are not famous in their niche. They are maybe they have written 10 or 20 blog posts on the company website. And of course, you can create an author page and do things with structured data and things that are in the checklist.
Yeah.
But of course, the real thing is that person should become more of an expert by maybe getting on the stage, being a guest in podcast, maybe being interviewed by newspapers or by industry websites, things like that. So
That's right.
in a lot of cases, aren't we creating all of these tactics around something that isn't an EEAT, and then it doesn't work?
Well, it's personal branding. I think you're right that like it's really important to do this whole EEAT thing. And I think it's above and beyond SEO. It's good for your business's branding in general. People like to follow real people and real influencers and real experts. So I think it's true that like when I speak to companies about EEAT, a lot of it does involve taking those experts that maybe have like a really small footprint online. But maybe they have some recording of them speaking at a conference somewhere, doing a podcast, and it's like doing a bit more marketing around what they actually have done. Or maybe they need to be featured in an academic journal, and that's an initiative that we work on.
But for example, when you look at your own approach, you are a lot on stages around the world, very active on LinkedIn, for example, or other platforms. And of course, you can do that to have, well, I'm using the word score. I know it isn't a score, but to get a better EEAT score and then to be more visible in search engines. But I think most people come to your agency because they know you and they think you have a good perspective on things, and because they saw maybe a video of you on YouTube about a core update. So shouldn't we try to do that and then let EEAT be more of a consequence of doing the right things? How do you think the balance should be?
No, I think that like that approach of having experts and influencers and people that work at the company that have a following on their own that kind of reflect or are part of a bigger company is where marketing has been going. I think there's many other examples, at least in the SEO space, where there's a person that everyone knows and that person kind of represents a company. So you want to go hire that company because of the work that person is doing, but that extends far beyond SEO. I think that there's many different industries where people, again, they like to follow people on Instagram. They like to follow people on TikTok. And so that's the direction that I think, especially younger generations, are going. So when you are ready to go on a diet, you're going to, hire the company that your favorite fitness influencer works at because you trust their content.
Yeah, indeed. But then do you think if you do that part very good, so doing real marketing, not just for SEO, do you then need the checklist, or should that be enough, and should good SEO results then be a consequence?
I think if a checklist helps you make sure that you're covering all your bases, or that you're maybe if you're feeling stuck and you don't know what to work on, a checklist can be helpful. But I just discourage any SEO approach where you're trying to simplify something that shouldn't be simple. Like you should be working with a group of people to come up with really unique and original and creative approaches. Because if everyone is doing the exact same thing, and this is how we end up in these messes with Google's algorithm updates, if everyone's hiring freelancers and saying these are the best possible freelancers, they have the most expertise, and like doing all this stuff, which a lot of big publishers have done recently, Google develops new ranking demotions and manual actions that says this is spam. It's not real.
Yeah, and I'm not against checklists, by the way, because you can use them in two different ways. You can think this is important for Google, so I'm doing this. But you can also think from, whoa, I never thought about how this is valuable for my website visitors, so I'm doing it because of that. But I learned about it through this checklist. That is good for EEAT.
For sure.
Let me quickly look at my sheet with questions because we don't have a lot of time. AI content. That's maybe also an interesting one. You talked about it a little bit in your talk this morning as well. Do you think AI content is per definition bad, or can it be good? Can it be a way to improve quality?
I wouldn't say it's inherently bad. I would say it's inherently mediocre. I think it's just repurposing what everybody else has already said. I think when you ask it to do something creative or funny, or pretend like it's a character and like do these kinds of like fun, cheeky things, it's really impressive. But if you're trying to create an article from scratch, it's going to be decent, but it's by definition going to be taking what is already out there.
Maybe I should pronounce it differently. I work for a lot of B2B companies, so that's not SEO on scale. It's more about finding the right stories and create different content forms with that. In a lot of cases, it starts with a podcast, with a video. I create a transcript, and then the transcript is very easy to use to create an article.
Sure.
Then the article is still the story from the person in the podcast.
Yeah.
And but what I notice is that, for example, Claude is better than me at transforming the transcript into
100%.
a good article.
Yeah.
So I think by using AI, it improves my content. But AI-generated content, of course, in most cases, it's just a prompt and no input, and
That's right.
doing it on scale.
Yes, I think it's really important to make that distinction. And I believe, I agree with you 100%. So when I before said that it's mediocre, I'm talking about when you ask it to tell a story or, come up with an article about XYZ. That's different than saying, here's my existing data or my existing article or my existing beliefs or something I wrote. I'd like you to enhance it or summarize it or make it more readable. Like, that's certainly how I use it. And that, I don't consider that AI content. I consider that like AI assisted processes.
Yeah,
right?
but sometimes I think there's a lot of debate about can Google see it? And of course they can't in 100% of the cases because the tools are not good. But even if they could, and even if they think, well, this transcript was transformed by Claude, but we don't know that the original content was the transcript. We think you just AI generated it and we are going to punish that. Yeah, I still will create content that way because it's better for my target audience. So I think Google can't... I'm looking for the English words. Sorry, this is my 5th podcast of today. Google can punish all AI-generated content because of that, I think.
Yeah, I don't think that Google would want to punish that type of content. Like, if you have an original transcript that you use AI to repurpose it, even if it can pick up on like some of the language feels a little bit AI, maybe it has like the punctuation that the AI tools are using, but the ideas and the concepts are original.
Yeah.
That's, from what I understand and where I think they're going, I think that's perfectly fine. I mean, at the end of the day, Google has Gemini and its own generative AI tools that they want us to be using. I think it's when you publish something that's completely AI content that has already been written about 1,000 times, that's where it's problematic.
Yeah, so how much of the story is new and is not available on the internet yet? And maybe also in combination with other factors.
Yeah.
So if you have spammy links and no contact details and a lot of AI content, then maybe it's a problem and otherwise not.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different signals that work together to show that you are, let's say, medium to low quality site that's mostly focused on SEO and not as much on solving real user problems.
Yeah, indeed. Are you a fan of AI for your way of working? Do you use it a lot?
I use it every day, all day, every day. Yeah, I'm certainly not using it to generate stuff from scratch unless I need like inspiration. I'm not publishing content that's 100% AI generated.
No.
I wouldn't do that. But all throughout my day, I'm using it, like we just talked about, helping me summarize really long things, helping me reformat things, creative ideas for articles based on other articles that have performed well. So it's more like it's a productivity engine, or like it kind of makes me feel like I'm supercharging the work that I do.
Great.
Yeah.
I think we have to end the podcast. We have.
Awesome.
Thanks a lot.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah, thanks.
Thank you.
Bedankt voor het luisteren naar de Jerrel Arkes podcast. En vergeet niet om je te abonneren via YouTube of in je favoriete podcast app.